Welcome back to Untold Revenge Files. Today, the story you're about to hear takes place in Creekwood, Georgia. My name is Mara Holloway. I'm 34 years old, and I'm about to tell you how my own mother destroyed our relationship with 7 words at my daughter's 3rd birthday party. Some moments shatter you so completely that you can still feel the fractures years later. For me, that moment came surrounded by pink streamers, rainbow balloons, and the scent of buttercream frosting. It came from the woman who raised me. Let me give you some context first. I'm a single mother. My daughter Lily's father left before she was born, packed his things while I was at my 20-week ultrasound, and sent a text that simply said, "I'm not ready for this." I never heard from him again, so I built everything alone. Every sleepless night, every doctor's appointment, every milestone, no matter how small. When Lily was 18 months old, we noticed she wasn't speaking like other children her age. No mama, no dada, just silence and these big brown eyes that seemed to understand everything but couldn't find the words to respond. The pediatrician referred us to specialists. After months of evaluations, we had our answer: childhood apraxia of speech. It's a neurological condition. Her brain knows what she wants to say, but the signals get scrambled somewhere between thought and mouth. It's not about intelligence. Lily is sharp as a tack. She was already doing puzzles meant for 5-year-olds. But speaking, that required therapy. Intensive, twice-weekly speech therapy that insurance barely covered. What my family never knew was that Lily's diagnosis became my purpose in a way I never expected. During those long nights after therapy sessions, watching my daughter struggle to form sounds, I started sketching ideas. I'm a software developer by training, worked for a small tech company in Atlanta for years. But after Lily's diagnosis, I started building something on my own, an app, a platform that would make speech therapy more accessible, more engaging for children. I poured everything into it: savings, time, sleep. And slowly, it grew. Investors noticed. Within 2 years, my platform went from a side project to a company valued at more than I ever imagined possible. When it went public last year, I became wealthy in a way my family couldn't have predicted. But here's the thing about my family. They only saw me as struggling single mom Mara, the one who needed help, the one who wasn't quite as successful as my brother Kevin, the real estate agent with the flashy suits. The one my mother looked at with a mixture of pity and disappointment. I never corrected them. I never announced my success. Instead, I did something that still amazes me when I think about it. I started helping them. Quietly, anonymously at first, then more directly. My mother's out-of-network cardiologist that insurance wouldn't cover. I paid. My father's luxury SUV that he bragged about at church. I covered the lease. Kevin's mortgage when he overextended himself on a second property. I made the principal payments, the family country club membership, me, the vacations to Mexico, to the Bahamas, to wherever they wanted to go, all me. Nearly $20,000 a month flowed from my accounts to support people who didn't even know I was the source. I told myself it was love. I told myself I was being a good daughter, a good sister. I told myself that family helps family. Before I tell you exactly what my mother did next, tell me, what time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I'm really curious to see how far this story will travel. Now, let me tell you about the party. Lily had been working with her speech therapist, Dr. Kimball, for months on 2 words. Thank you. We practiced every day. Flashcards, mirror exercises, reward stickers. Lily wanted so badly to say it at her birthday party. She wanted to thank everyone for coming, for her presence. I could see the determination in her little face. The party was at my parents' house, a beautiful colonial that my father loved to show off. The decorations were perfect. The cake was 3 tiers of vanilla with pink roses. Everything looked like a picture. My mother stood near the gift table, holding court with my aunt and a few family friends. Lily stood beside her cake, tiny fingers gripping the tablecloth. I watched from across the room as she opened and closed her mouth, practicing. And then my mother tilted her head, looked at Lily, and said it loud enough for everyone to hear, "Well, looks like she's basically mute." The laughter came immediately. My brother snorted. My father shrugged like she'd made a reasonable observation. My aunt covered her mouth, but I could see her shoulders shaking. Someone, I still don't know who, muttered, "It's just the truth." Time stopped. I watched Lily's shoulders drop. I watched her eyes change, something dimming behind them. I watched her little mouth close, and I swear I could hear the door locking inside her heart. My chest felt like someone had reached in and squeezed. My vision tunneled. My hands started shaking so hard I had to press them against my thighs. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I walked to my mother, looked her directly in the eyes, and said, "I need everyone to leave, now." She laughed again. "Oh, Mara, don't be so sensitive. We're just—" "Now." The silence that followed was different from Lily's. It was shocked, uncomfortable. My mother's face cycled through confusion, annoyance, and finally, something I'd never seen directed at me. Uncertainty. They left, every single one of them. And as my father's SUV pulled out of the driveway, the SUV I was paying for, I scooped Lily into my arms and held her as she cried without making a sound. That night, after she fell asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, I sat in the darkness and made a decision. But I had no idea that what came next would destroy my family as they knew it and rebuild my entire life from the ground up. The morning after the party, my phone exploded. 17 text messages from my mother, 3 voicemails from my father, a group chat with Kevin and my aunt that I hadn't asked to be added to. "You completely overreacted." "It was a joke, Mara." "You embarrassed us in front of everyone." "Call me when you've calmed down." Not a single apology, not one word about Lily. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold, reading message after message that blamed me for having feelings. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. They genuinely didn't think they'd done anything wrong. My mother called that afternoon. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Mara, this is ridiculous," she said without preamble. "Your father and I talked, and we think you need to apologize." "I need to apologize." "Mom," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "you called my daughter mute at her birthday party, in front of everyone." "I called her basically mute, and frankly she is. I'm just being honest. Would you rather I lie and pretend everything's fine? That child barely says 3 words, and you're too sensitive to hear the truth." That child. Not Lily, not your granddaughter. That child. "She has a speech disorder, Mom. She's working so hard." "She's 3. By 3, you were reciting full sentences. Kevin was reading." "I'm just concerned, that's all. Maybe if you weren't working so much and actually spent time with her." I hung up. Over the next few days, the family closed ranks. Kevin texted me to say I was being dramatic and that Mom means well. My father sent a single message. "Your mother is upset. Fix this." Flying monkeys, I'd later learn they're called. People who carry out the bidding of someone who's hurt you, trying to pull you back into the fold. My best friend, Renee, came over that Thursday night. She'd known me since college, had been there when Lily was born, and was the only person who knew the full extent of my financial success. She was also the only person I trusted completely. "What happened?" she asked, setting down a bottle of wine I couldn't bring myself to open. I told her everything, the party, the laughter, my mother's words, the aftermath. When I finished, Renee was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "Mara, you already know your answer. Would you let a stranger talk about Lily that way? Would you let a coworker, a neighbor, anyone treat your child like that? So why are you accepting it from your mother?" "Because she's my mother," I whispered. "No," Renee said gently. "She's the woman who's supposed to love your daughter unconditionally. And instead, she's the woman who made a 3-year-old feel broken for something she can't control." That night, after Renee left, I opened my laptop and pulled up my banking dashboard. The scheduled transfers stared back at me, every single payment that kept my family's lifestyle afloat. My hands hovered over the keyboard. For years, I'd told myself that silence was generosity, that helping them without recognition was the noble thing to do. But now I saw it for what it really was. I'd been buying love, purchasing a place in a family that saw me as less than, funding people who mocked my daughter at her own birthday party. I canceled every transfer, the country club membership, gone. My mother's medical payments, stopped. My father's SUV lease, ended. Kevin's mortgage help, done. The vacation fund, closed. No announcements, no dramatic phone calls, no explanation. I just stopped. Then I drafted a text message to the family group chat. It took me an hour to get the words right. In the end, I kept it simple. I won't be available for a while. Please don't contact me. I need space to focus on my daughter. I blocked all of them before anyone could respond. The strangest thing happened after I pressed that final button. I cried, not from sadness, but from relief so profound it felt like surfacing after being underwater for years. I'd been holding my breath my whole life, trying to be good enough, helpful enough, quiet enough. And for what? For a mother who called my baby mute? The next morning, I woke up exhausted but clear. Lily was still asleep, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. I watched her breathe, this perfect little person who was fighting so hard to find her voice. I'd spent years funding people who didn't appreciate me. Now, it was time to fund a life that honored my daughter. It was time to focus every resource, financial, emotional, and spiritual, on the two of us. For the first time, I chose us over them. I was done apologizing for my child's pace. I was done subsidizing people who hurt us. It was time to build something they could never touch. 6 months passed. In that time, I poured myself into Lily's therapy with renewed focus. We found a new specialist, Dr. Patterson, who used innovative techniques that clicked with Lily's learning style. We practiced every day, not with pressure, but with patience, with songs and games and so much laughter. My company continued to grow. We'd expanded from an app to a full platform with remote therapy sessions, parent resources, and a community forum. I started speaking at conferences about accessibility and child development. For the first time, I let myself be publicly known as the founder. My photo appeared in a tech magazine. I did a podcast interview about building the company as a single mother. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I was tired of hiding. Lily and I built a new life. We found a wonderful preschool with teachers trained in supporting children with speech differences. We made friends, real ones. Other parents in similar situations. Other women who understood what it meant to build something from nothing. I met a woman named Grace at a support group for parents of children with communication disorders. She had a son, Marcus, who used a speech-generating device. We started having play dates. Our kids would communicate in their own ways, signs, gestures, sounds, technology, while we drank coffee and talked about everything and nothing. I heard something, Grace said one afternoon, 3 months after we'd become friends. About your family. My stomach tightened. What did you hear? My sister-in-law works at the country club. The Holloways got dropped from membership. Couldn't pay the dues. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. And apparently, there's a house for sale on Maple Crest. Big colonial. Rumor is financial trouble. My parents' house. The one where Lily's birthday party happened. The one my father loved to brag about at church. Imagine this. You've mocked a child with a disability, laughed at her struggle, and the entire time, the mother you dismissed was the reason for your comfortable life. Imagine the moment you realized the money stopped. The calls started coming around month 4. I had them all blocked, but the voicemails went to my email in transcript form. From my mother, Mara, I don't know what's happening, but we need to talk. The club called. The doctors are saying they can't see me anymore. Something's wrong. Call me. From my father, your mother is very upset. I don't know what game you're playing, but this is serious. From Kevin, did you cut us off? Is this about the party? That was months ago. You need to grow up. I deleted them without listening to the audio. The news trickled in through Grace, through other mutual acquaintances who didn't know the full story. The house sold in month 7, below asking price. My parents moved to a smaller place across town. The luxury SUV was gone, replaced by a sedan. Kevin's second property went into foreclosure. What struck me wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't triumph. It was the hollow recognition that they'd been living entirely on my generosity and never even knew. Never even wondered how their lifestyle stayed so comfortable when their own incomes couldn't support it. They'd been so busy looking down on me that they never thought to look at who was holding them up. Around month 9, something unexpected happened. My aunt, my mother's sister, the one who'd covered her mouth laughing at the party, sent me a letter, not a text, an actual handwritten letter. "I've been thinking about what happened," she wrote. "I'm not proud of how I acted that day. Your mother has always led, and I've always followed. That's not an excuse. I just wanted you to know that I see Lily's videos on Facebook, the ones from her therapy account. She's trying so hard, and she's beautiful. I'm sorry I laughed. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know." I cried when I read it. It was the first acknowledgement from anyone in my family that they'd done something wrong. If you've ever been the quiet one who kept a family running, the one who gave and gave while being treated as less than, tell me in the comments. When did you finally stop? Knowing my family was struggling should have felt like justice. Instead, it felt like equilibrium. I hadn't done anything to hurt them. I'd simply stopped hurting myself. And meanwhile, in the smallest, most beautiful moments, Lily was finding her voice. One sound at a time, one word at a time. She was proving everyone wrong, not for them, but for herself. A year and a half after the birthday party, my mother showed up at my door. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked older, smaller, like the scaffolding that held her together had started to crumble. Her clothes were simpler than I remembered. No designer bag on her arm. Lily was at preschool. I was alone, working from home, when the doorbell rang. "Mara," her voice cracked on my name. "Please, I just need 5 minutes." I let her in. I'm still not entirely sure why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed her to see what we'd built without her. Maybe I just needed to face her one last time. We sat in my living room, a room she'd never seen, in a house she'd never visited. She looked around at the photos on the walls. Lily at therapy, Lily at the beach, Lily and me at my company's office, Lily laughing, always laughing, even when words were hard. "She looks happy," my mother said quietly. "She is." Silence stretched between us. I waited. "I need help," she finally said. "Your father's health isn't good. We lost the house. Kevin can't—" "Well, Kevin has his own problems now. The doctors say Dad needs a procedure. Insurance won't cover the specialist." She looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen in my mother's eyes before. Desperation. "I don't know how you did it, Mara. How you built all this. I didn't even know you—" She stopped, gathered herself. "We didn't know. We didn't see." "You didn't want to see." "Maybe." She looked down at her hands. "I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for your father." For a long moment I didn't speak. Old Mara would have immediately said yes, would have written a check, smoothed things over, pretended the birthday party never happened. Old Mara was trained to keep the peace at any cost, but I wasn't old Mara anymore. "Mom," I said carefully, "Dad has Medicare. He has Kevin. He has you. You have resources. You sold the house. Where did that money go?" Her face tightened. "That's not— We have expenses." "I understand." I kept my voice calm. "But I'm not going to be the backup plan for a family that mocked my daughter. That's not my role anymore." "We didn't mock her. We were concerned. We were just being honest about—" "You called her mute at her own birthday party. You laughed. Everyone laughed. And then you spent months trying to convince me I was the problem for being hurt." My mother's eyes welled up. "I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. I wanted to hear that 18 months ago, Mom. I wanted you to look at your granddaughter and see her fight, her strength, her determination. Instead, you saw a deficit, a joke. I was wrong." The words came out like they hurt her physically. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and I need you to forgive me." I took a deep breath. "I hope you find the help you need for Dad. I genuinely do. But I'm not able to go back to being the person who funds this family while being disrespected by it. That version of me is gone." "So you're just going to let your father—" "Dad has options. You all have options. I didn't take everything from you. I just stopped letting you take everything from me." She stared at me, and I watched her cycle through the stages: denial, anger, bargaining, before landing somewhere close to resignation. "You've changed," she said. "I grew up. I had to, for Lily." My mother left that day without getting what she came for. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. I won't pretend I didn't cry after she was gone. But it was a different kind of crying. Grief for what could have been, not guilt for what I'd done. That evening, I picked Lily up from preschool. She ran to me the way she always did, arms outstretched, smile wider than the world. On the drive home, she started singing along to the radio. Not perfectly, not clearly, but singing, making sounds that were starting to form words, that were starting to form sentences. When we got home, we sat on the porch together. The sunset was turning everything golden. Lily was holding her juice box, swinging her legs off the edge of the steps. And then, clear as a bell, she looked at me and said, "Love you, Mama." 3 words, 18 months of therapy, a lifetime of fighting. I pulled her into my arms and let the tears fall. "I love you too, baby. So much." Some families lift you up. Some families hold you down and call it love. The hardest thing I ever did was learn the difference. I lost a family that laughed at my daughter, but I gained a life that protected her. I gained her voice, her laughter, her trust. I gained peace, and that's worth more than any relationship that required my silence. So, after everything you've heard, if you were standing where I am now, with a parent asking you to save them after they mocked your child, would you open your wallet and call it forgiveness, or would you choose your child and call it self-respect? The lesson I learned is simple. The moment someone mocks your child, they lose the right to benefit from your silence. Blood doesn't mean access. DNA doesn't mean you owe them your peace. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, not in anger, but in love. Love for yourself. Love for your child. Love for the life you're building. Lily is 4 now. She's talking more every day. Not perfectly, but perfectly her. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, right beside her, listening to every single word. And that's where Mara's story ends, not with revenge, but with peace. Not with destruction, but with protection. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to cut off family to protect your child or yourself? Type Mama Bear if you would have done exactly what Mara did. Type second chance if you think she should have forgiven her mother, and type my story if something similar happened to you. I read every single comment. If this story hit close to home, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss another story. We post new stories every week, stories about betrayal, karma, and the strength it takes to choose yourself. Until next time, remember, your peace is not for sale, your child is not a joke, and your silence, that's a privilege they have to earn. I'll see you in the next one.